Why do so many men end up emotionally destroyed in relationships? They feel lost, trying to understand why suddenly the woman who seemed interested disappears without explanation. Or why one moment she's in love and the next, distant. It's frustrating, right? This is one of the most common situations, but what most men don't realize is that these emotional games aren't just playful antics. They're tests. But here's the real question. How can you pass these tests? The answer isn't in manipulation, but in mastering yourself. And that's what we'll discuss today. The problem isn't that women play these games. The real issue is how you react to them. Have you ever wondered why it affects you so much? What if I told you that the real victory in these scenarios isn't winning over the other person, but mastering your own mind? Today, we'll explore how Stoicism can be the key to handling these situations. This is the path to becoming emotionally unshakable and regaining control over your life and relationships. Keep reading, because what comes next could completely change the way you act. 1. Emotional detachment. A new path to self-control. The first strategy to deal with emotional games is learning to emotionally detach. This doesn't mean you stop caring or become cold. On the contrary, emotional detachment means you stop being controlled by your emotions. Have you noticed how anxiety takes over when she stops replying to your messages? Or how you start doubting yourself when she pulls away? The key here is to stay calm. When you can remain emotionally stable, regardless of what she does, you become a force she can't control. And that, my friend, is where your true transformation begins. But the question remains, how do you detach without losing interest or becoming disconnected? It takes practice and repetition. Stoicism teaches that we shouldn't be reactive. This means that when she acts unpredictably, you respond with serenity. Instead of trying to fix or understand what went wrong, you stand firm. What she does or says doesn't define your self-worth. True strength isn't in trying to salvage the relationship, but in maintaining your inner peace. When you start practicing emotional detachment, something interesting happens. Women naturally feel attracted to men who aren't easily shaken. They test to see if you'll give in. But when you don't react as expected, you become different. And as we know, being different is attractive. This is the secret to becoming irresistible. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've mastered yourself. If you're enjoying this content and believe it can help you become emotionally stronger, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Also, follow the channel for more content on Stoicism and how to apply these principles in your daily life. It helps us keep this space of learning and reflection alive. Let's continue this journey together. 2. Recognizing manipulative patterns. The power of predicting the game. The second key to breaking free from the emotional cycle is recognizing behavior patterns. What many men don't realize is that once you start observing closely, manipulations follow repetitive patterns. Have you noticed how she's affectionate for a while, but then suddenly pulls away? This is the hot and cold technique. And here's the most interesting part. She does this to see if you'll chase after her. But what would happen if you stopped reacting to this predictable pattern? Stoicism teaches us to be observers, not emotional participants in the game. When you start noticing these cycles, it becomes easier to predict the next move. And when you can predict, the surprise and confusion disappear. Most men fail here because they don't realize they're being tested on their ability to remain emotionally stable. It's like a puzzle. Once you understand the pieces, you know how to solve it without difficulty. Recognizing patterns brings a sense of power. Instead of being caught off guard, you're ahead of the game. This completely changes the dynamic of the relationship. And here's something curious. When you stop reacting as expected, she changes too. The reason these games work is because most men react. But what if you didn't give the response she was expecting? The power of unpredictability is in your hands. When you recognize the patterns, it becomes clear that these games aren't personal. In fact, many times they don't even realize they're playing. It's automatic behavior. Understanding this stops you from taking it personally and helps you see the bigger picture. This frees you from feeling offended or hurt. After all, how can you be offended by something that's part of a predictable behavior? 3. Setting boundaries, the foundation of respect. Boundaries are essential, and if you think setting boundaries will push women away, think again. The opposite is true. They desire men who know what they will and won't tolerate. But here's the dilemma many face. How do you set boundaries without seeming controlling or insecure? The answer lies in balance. Boundaries aren't about controlling the other person, but about protecting your own emotional well-being. Imagine she constantly cancels plans at the last minute. Most men ignore it or just accept it, fearing to push her away. But what would happen if, instead, you made it clear that you value consistency and won't accept less than that? Here's the trick. It's not about imposing your will, but calmly and clearly communicating your expectations. When you do this without anger, you establish respect. Boundaries are a reflection of how much you value yourself. If you don't have boundaries, you're essentially saying any behavior is acceptable. And, interestingly, this diminishes her interest. Women test to see how far they can go, and when you don't react, you lose respect. But when you set firm boundaries, you show that you have self-awareness and value yourself. And that is extremely attractive. 4. Staying calm under pressure, the secret to unshakable power. Staying calm under pressure is the skill that separates the strong from the weak. When you can remain composed amidst chaos, you earn the respect of those around you. But have you ever wondered why it's so hard to stay calm, especially when your emotions are running high? When she provokes jealousy, talks about her ex, or flirts with others, most men lose control. However, Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in not reacting. Here's the secret few know. The more you remain calm in situations that would normally trigger explosive reactions, the more you stand out. She expects you to react with anger or jealousy, but when you stay serene, you completely disarm her. She loses control of the situation and the power shifts back to you. But how can you reach this level of emotional control? The answer is consistent practice. Next time she tries to provoke you, take a deep breath and don't react. Remember that your calmness is your greatest weapon. It's not about suppressing your emotions, but choosing how to act in response to them. When you choose not to react, you're in control. And gradually, you'll find that it becomes a natural reflex. Calmness becomes part of who you are. 5. Focusing on your goals. Don't get distracted by drama. Many men get lost in relationships because they forget to focus on their own goals. They become so consumed with trying to please the other person or solve immediate conflicts that they abandon what truly matters in their lives. But here's an essential truth. When you place your long-term goals above daily drama, you become stronger and more attractive. Have you ever wondered why so many successful men don't get involved in petty drama? It's because they know they have bigger things at stake. Stoicism teaches us to keep things in perspective. What's more important, your personal growth or resolving the problem of an unanswered message? Men who lose sight of their goals to try and solve every little emotional situation end up weakened. They become dependent on the woman's approval, and this destroys their confidence. But when you stay focused on what truly matters, you become stronger. 6. Avoiding emotional retaliation, the power of calculated indifference. One of the biggest mistakes men make when dealing with emotional games is retaliating emotionally. She ignored you? The first reaction of many is to do the same, trying to make her feel what you felt. But here's the thing. When you react that way, who's in control? Exactly, she is. Every time you act based on your emotions, you give control to her. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies not in retaliation, but in responding with indifference. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if, instead of reacting, you simply continued living your life, unshaken? Indifference is your most powerful weapon. Not because you're playing the same game, but because you've decided not to play. This puts you in a position of strength, and over time, you'll see that the peace that comes from not retaliating is much more satisfying than any emotional response could ever be. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to like and share. For more insights on Stoicism and emotional strength, stay tuned. 7. Communicating clearly. The power of assertiveness without drama. Many men are afraid of difficult conversations. The fear that clear and direct communication might cause conflict often prevents them from expressing their needs or concerns. But here's something few understand. Clarity, when done calmly and assertively, not only solves problems, but also increases respect. How many times have you swallowed your frustrations to avoid a fight? And how many times has that left you feeling frustrated and misunderstood? Stoicism teaches that communication doesn't need to be emotional, but rather clear, firm, and objective. Imagine she's been acting distant and it's bothering you. Most men ignore it or hope the situation resolves itself. But true power lies in addressing the issue directly, without drama. When you express your observations calmly and without accusing, you disarm any potential conflict. Instead of angrily saying, "Why are you ignoring me?" you could calmly state, "I've noticed you've been distant lately. Is there something we need to talk about?" The difference is subtle, but it's powerful. A man who communicates clearly shows confidence and self-control. Assertive communication also sets a standard for the relationship. When you're clear about your expectations, there's no room for misunderstandings or emotional games. And here's something fascinating. Women are attracted to men who know what they want and aren't afraid to express it. What's often seen as a threat or something that might push them away actually creates more attraction. Because when you communicate your needs, you're showing that you value yourself. When you communicate assertively without exaggerated emotions, you create an atmosphere of respect. She sees that you're not there to argue, but to solve. And this completely changes the dynamic. Stoicism teaches us not to shy away from difficult conversations, but to approach them with calmness and clarity. By doing this, you not only solve problems, but also strengthen the relationship. 8. Prioritizing your well-being, the core of all change. At the end of the day, what matters most is your well-being. Have you ever found yourself putting her needs above your own, only to realize that, in the process, you've lost control of your own peace? Stoicism teaches that to be truly strong, you must prioritize your mental, emotional, and physical health. Often, men fall into the trap of thinking they must constantly sacrifice to maintain the relationship. But what happens when you sacrifice your well-being? The truth is, when you forget yourself, you lose her respect, and most importantly, your own self-respect. Women are naturally attracted to men who know how to take care of themselves. When you prioritize your well-being, you show that you value yourself. And this self-worth is what keeps your emotional power intact. Because in the end, if you're not well, how can you expect the relationship to be? The question you need to ask yourself is simple. Is this making my life better or draining it? If the answer is that the relationship is negatively affecting your well-being, it's time to recalibrate. This might mean stepping back, focusing on your own needs, and distancing yourself from the emotional chaos around you. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in taking care of yourself before trying to care for someone else. By prioritizing your well-being, you also change the dynamic of the relationship. She realizes that you're not willing to compromise your peace for emotional games. This generates respect. And, interestingly, when you start valuing yourself more, she also begins to value you more. What many men don't realize is that by taking care of themselves, they also take care of the relationship. So, make your mental and emotional peace a non-negotiable priority. This will not only protect you from emotional ups and downs, but also attract people who truly respect and value who you are. When you put yourself first, you become unshakable, and that's what really matters. 9. Practicing patience, the secret few. Master. In a world where everything is instant, patience has become a rare and powerful skill. But what would happen if instead of rushing for immediate answers, you simply waited? This would not only change the dynamics of the relationship, but also show a level of emotional control that few men possess. Stoicism teaches that patience is not passivity, but the ability to wait for the right moment to act. Have you noticed how she tests your patience by not replying immediately or canceling plans at the last minute? Patience is a powerful weapon because it disarms the expectations of those playing with your emotions. When you don't react with haste or anxiety, you stand out. Most men panic when they don't get a quick response or when things don't happen on their expected timeline. But the man who practices patience understands that time is on his side. He knows that by waiting and remaining calm, he retains control. And here's the key point. When you practice patience, you show that you don't depend on her actions to feel complete. This ability goes beyond relationships. Patience is one of the greatest virtues in life. It teaches you not to chase after instant gratification, but to wait for what truly matters. When you stop seeking immediate validation, you begin to focus on what truly builds long-term value. And that's exactly what attracts women who are looking for something deeper and more meaningful. Another advantage of practicing patience is that you become a challenge. Most people are used to getting quick responses and immediate emotions, but when you break that cycle and decide to wait for the right moment to act, you become an exception. And as we all know, exceptions are extremely attractive. This creates a gap of curiosity. Why isn't he reacting like the others? And at that moment, the power shifts back into your hands. So the next time you feel the urge to act impulsively, take a deep breath and wait. Trust that with time, things will work themselves out as they need to. Patience is the secret to not being manipulated by the desire for immediate gratification. And in the end, it's this patience that will give you true control over your life and relationships. 10. Knowing when to walk away. The power of leaving with confidence. Finally, the most powerful point of all, knowing when to walk away. There's a phrase that says, the most powerful position is being able to walk away and actually mean it. And few things are more true. Stoicism teaches that emotional freedom comes from understanding that you don't need anyone to validate your existence. So why do so many men fear walking away from toxic relationships? The fear of losing the other person can be paralyzing, but what would happen if you knew that walking away often puts you in an even more powerful position? The truth is, when you walk away with confidence, you send a clear message. I value myself enough not to accept less than I deserve. And that, in itself, is incredibly attractive. Women realize that you're not trapped by the need for their approval or validation. You're willing to walk away even if it means being alone. And here's the irony. Often when you walk away, she comes running back. Because walking away is the ultimate sign of self-sufficiency. But don't confuse this act with a tactic to manipulate her into coming back. Walking away is about self-respect. If she isn't willing to respect your boundaries or continues playing emotional games, you walk away. Not out of anger, but out of serenity. Stoicism teaches that true strength is not depending on anyone for your happiness. And when you embody this, you free yourself from emotional games for good. Walking away also preserves your mental peace. There's nothing more valuable than that. Often we stay in relationships that aren't good for us out of fear of being alone. But Stoicism teaches that solitude, when embraced, is a form of empowerment. When you walk away from something that harms you, you're choosing peace over chaos. So if you find yourself in a situation where your boundaries are constantly being crossed, have the courage to walk away. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with the quiet confidence that you're making the right choice for yourself. That, my friend, is true power. You've made it this far because you're ready to transform the way you deal with your emotions and relationships. What you've learned today isn't just about winning someone over or avoiding emotional games. It's about mastering yourself. Stoicism teaches that true power doesn't come from controlling others, but from controlling our own reactions. By practicing emotional detachment, recognizing manipulative patterns, setting clear boundaries, and staying calm under pressure, you become an unshakable force. Remember, all of this is a continuous process. Each situation you face is an opportunity to apply these principles and strengthen your mindset even further. Over time, you'll see that emotional manipulations will lose their power over you, and your confidence will become unbreakable. The key is to keep focusing on your growth and never let someone else's emotional games determine your worth. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind you of something important. If this content has helped you in any way and you believe it can benefit others as well, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. This not only helps us continue providing valuable content, but also allows us to build a community of people focused on their own development and emotional strength. So let's keep moving forward together on this journey. Stay tuned for the next videos, and in the meantime, continue practicing Stoicism in your daily life. Your transformation has already begun, and the best is yet to come.